A lot of people, Paddy, they go 1 inch in 10 different directions. So 1 inch here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here. End of the year, they look back and say they did not make much progress. He said, like, whatever that you're doing, keep doing that. It's going to change so many people's lives.
From the city of Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, England, I would like to introduce you to Paddy Dhanda.
As the world becomes more automated and the robots take over, it's imperative that we build the right human skills for the future. So pull up a chair, grab a samosa or two, and make yourself very uncomfortable. Hey folks, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Superpower School podcast. And on today's episode, I think we're going to inspire a few people. So if you're feeling a little bit down or you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut, you're not quite sure where you want to go next with your career, then I think this episode is going to be just perfect for you. On today's episode, we have a guest who is the founder and CEO of an organization called Make More Leaders, who specialize in identifying your greatness. So I'm really honored to be joined today by Vamsi Polimetla, all the way from the US. Hey, Vamsi, how you doing?
Hey, Paddy, great to be here. I'm doing fantastic.
Good stuff, my friend. And only you and I know how I messed up your name in my first take. So that's another one that's going to make it up onto the bloopers video that I'm putting together of all of the times I've messed up people's names. So it's building up quite healthily, actually. So yeah.
But this is going to be raw and real conversation. No filters.
Yes, from now on in, it's all real. Because I hate getting people's names wrong, but I always do it. I always mess it up. And I think it's just the pressure of the situation. So yeah, I do apologize for that. But anyway, how are you doing? You're all the way in the US.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, just had my morning breakfast and it's snowing outside, watching snow from my window. Super grateful for this conversation.
I was going to say, so it's like, is it deep snow or you're getting a light
snow?
Light snow there.
Like 1 inch, 2 inch snow accumulation, not more than that.
So Vamsi, what superpower would you like to bring to this particular episode?
Identifying the greatness. So I strongly believe leadership is not something inherited. Leadership is something that can be designed and cultivated at any point of time. It doesn't matter what you're doing right now. You could be a vice president or you could be just a security guard. But if you really wanted to step into that leadership, you can design, develop any time and be that leader.
Well, hopefully the listeners will appreciate that this is an area that I have a lot of passion for, because a lot of what I do is about helping individuals build confidence and really realizing their passions so that they can make the world a better place, if I get really kind of philosophical about it. But that's something I get a lot of pleasure out of, especially things like creativity. I often do workshops and talks on creativity and the fact that we feel our confidence has diminished in some of these skills, but actually it's within us and we just need to find those things again and ignite those passions. So Vamsi, be great to hear your background. Like, how did you get into this? What's been your road to this point?
Absolutely, Paddy. So I born in India. And if you're born in India, especially like 80s, 70s, late 70s, or maybe 90s too, you have only two things that you can do. You can either become an engineer or a doctor. That's the parents' expectations. I know I'm not good at the science part, so I became an engineer. Got into the IT industry and spent my first 23 years in the IT in my career. I started as a programmer, then I became an architect, then I got into the management. And throughout this journey, I was helping people. I was helping people to identify their true potential, uplifting them. And at one point I realized I've been doing this unconsciously. How about I start doing this consciously? And I started coaching people on the side on the weekends. And my very first client, he spent almost 3 months with me. And after 3 months, he came to me and said, Vamsi, past 3 months are the best 3 months of my entire life. I said like, wow, really? And he said like, whatever that you're doing, keep doing that. It's going to change so many people's lives. That gave me confidence. And he brought up like so many of his friends. And he's still like, it's been 5 years since I started that coaching. He's still like one of my clients. He's still working with me. And yeah, that's how like I started. And 3 years ago, I exited my corporate career I decided I'm not getting fulfillment from doing what I was doing within those four walls. I was growing really fast. Everything is good, bells and whistles on the paper, but I'm limiting myself to serve other people outside of those four walls. And I decided I wanted to go full time and burn the boats, right? So it came out from the corporate, and it's been best 3 years of my life doing what I'm doing and who I truly am right now. So this journey has been like phenomenal. I learned a lot about myself. And I learned a lot about like what is possible for me if I give my 100% focus towards that one thing. And that's, I think, like a magical thing. It's also like I preach, I teach all of my clients. A lot of people, Paddy, they go 1 inch in 10 different directions. So 1 inch here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here. End of the year, they look back and say they did not make much progress. Whereas we all have that greatness inside of us. If we just identify one thing and go 10 inches in one direction, you are going to be the top 0.001% in the world in that particular category.
Oh, I love that. That sort of whole notion of keep your focus on the thing that you really want to do well in. And it's almost like limiting your work in progress. So if you have lots of things going on, let's really think and focus on a handful of those things, the things that are going to probably move you further forward than the other things. And I think when we talk about it like this, it feels like common sense. And we go, oh yeah, of course you would do that. That's just natural. But it's not, because I guess in the crazy busy life that we all live in, it's sometimes really difficult for us to take that step back. And I think that's where having a coach and having someone who's almost outside of your immediate circle can help you spot those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on. Common sense is not common practice. Everybody knows like you need to drink maybe a gallon of water every day. You need to eat some quick food to sustain in the long run. But none of us follow that, right? Having somebody who's accountable. I think like accountability is the key piece. And whatever that we have in our life, Paddy, is a reflection of what we are committed to. If you have like $1 million or maybe £1 million sitting in your bank account, and that's a reflection of what you committed to. If you're driving a Bentley versus like maybe you're driving a normal car, that's what you committed. So the commitment level can be increased if you have somebody who's giving you that strong radical accountability for every action that you're doing. Because we all have that inside of us. Nobody told us, hey, you need to just walk like this. We got up and we started walking when we are younger, right? So we have that inside, but like what is happening is while we are growing up, we are installing the programs, because most of your listeners are technology guys. So we all have a million times powerful supercomputer sitting here than any supercomputer is available. But that supercomputer is running some outdated programs. So the moment you identify this program is not serving me, I wanted to uninstall that program. And I wanted to install a new program that will serve me, that will take me to the next level. And we all can get the results that we are looking for. So shift in the focus, remove what is not serving, and get something that get us to the finish line.
And obviously, if I were sitting at home now thinking, I do need to focus, I do need to really move in a different direction. And there's things that I've always wanted to do, and I want to, I guess, identify that greatness. How would I start? Like, what are the things that you recommend that people do as a first step?
Sure. I always recommend people to get a quick audit of their life for the past 3 years and see what are the things that you did, you extremely like maybe in the zone, in the flow state when you are doing that.
About the flow state, because I've read a few books about it, but for anyone that doesn't quite know, what do we mean by the flow state?
Sure. The activities that we do where we don't feel like the time is passing by. For example, right now, you and I are in flow state because this is our passion. We can talk all day long and creating this podcast and be creating value in our life. And the same way, what are the activities that you did not feel like you worked? Sometimes, even though you're a vice president, you're an architect, you're like maybe technology manager, you look at your calendar and say, oh my God, like one more day. That's not a flow state. Whereas you go there and you spend your wife, maybe your kids calling you, it's like, I'll come out, and 2 hours later, you're still doing that work. You're in the moment. So that moment is going like very smooth. You don't even feel like hungry. You don't feel like it's a Saturday. So that's the things like you need to identify and document those things and ask yourself, is this something that I wanted to be doing for full time? It doesn't have to be related to technology. It doesn't have to be related to whatever that your current profession is, because everything what we are doing is made up by somebody at some point. And we are using that program to run rest of our life. No, you can make maybe $100 million just like doing something completely, you're thinking it's silly, and you can make that impact and you can create that with yours. So identify what are the areas that you are in flow state and document that. And that will be a good start. You get an idea by just doing this audit and ask yourself the next question. How would my life will be different if I spend more time on these areas? Just don't bring anything related to finances in this conversation, or at least to start with, because there are many forms of currencies, Paddy. A lot of us like only measure the currency of like a wealth, like maybe what is sitting in the bank account. There are like so many other forms, the happiness, the satisfaction, the fulfillment. Those are priceless. You need to see how this is going to impact my rest of my life if I start doing little more time. You don't have to quit your job. Start something with what you have and maybe see if you can increase that little bit. At one point, your heart says that this is enough of the corporate and you can get into full time.
So would this be the things that you are passionate about that, like you mentioned, get you into that flow state? Or do you also need to consider, am I any good at those things? Because I could be in the flow state on a few different things, but I'm probably better at certain things than others. So when does that come into the equation?
Yeah. So the first thing, a lot of people, they do a lot of analysis paralysis. Don't take am I good at it and like somebody else better than you can become whatever that you want the moment you decide. The moment you decide this is the area I think I'm getting a lot of satisfaction, a lot of fulfillment, and you go 10-inch deep on that direction, you will become the best. Because everyone who's jumping from one inch to 1 inch, they're busy being that. You're the one going deep. May not be this year. Maybe in the next 2 years you will become, because you are using your laser-like focus and digging mile deep into that.
Should you also lean on other people around you to give you some insight as well? Or is this very much about you as an individual looking within yourself?
Step one, identify what exactly that gives you that happiness, that satisfaction and inspiration. And now the second step is look for people in that space who's already doing very well. You can start modeling them. The moment you start modeling them, you can bypass your learning curve. You can learn from their mistakes. You can learn from all the wins that they have. And maybe the best way to do this, find a book by a person on that field. For example, you are really good at teaching science to some kids. Find a book like who is already like a great author in that space, great teacher, and read their biography. Maybe spend some time if you get a chance with them, have a conversation. So that way you learn faster and you will get close to that. Proximity, Tony Robbins always talks about this. Proximity is superpower. It's all about like who you surrounded with. You can become whoever that you wanted to be based on your current network. If you have surrounded with the 5 people, they're always talking about politics. They're always talking about all the negative things that are happening in the world. You will become that 6th person in that group. If you're surrounded with the 5 people who are always like a complaint, always gossip, always behave like a victim, you will eventually become the 6th person. That's how like our brain conditioned. And if you surround with the people like 5 athletes and 5 people who always go for public speaking championships, you obviously will become the 6th one. So that's the power. Choose a mastermind group. Choose a proximity circle. Maybe you can call that like a winner's circle, and spend little time every week with them. And eventually, like you may feel that I don't want to spend time with any of those people outside of this circle. And you find your tribe and that's it. You dedicate your time towards that tribe. The tribe will lift you up.
I have to say, Vamsi, that really resonates with me, because some people do ask me, when I say some people, it's probably more my closest family. They say, why do you do this podcast for? Like, are you mad? All the hours you spend, and especially my wife, she sees me like there on the laptop editing away at stupid times in the day, and get a lot of these comments. But I think if I boil it right down, why do I do it? I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, because for me, I can read a book for sure. I could pick up a book, I could read it, but that's me reading, and I can't have a conversation with the book. And so by being able to interview and talk to amazing people like yourself and guests who are really driven and are doing amazing things for other people, I'm hoping some of that energy will rub off on me and some of that enthusiasm will rub off on me. And so, yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why I do this crazy stuff as well. So I think you've hit the nail on the head for me anyway. That's a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can I share something on the same lines? So this is getting into a little bit on spirituality side. There are three types of people, Paddy. Number one, they always think about me. They always think about like me, my family, my kids, my parents. That's one type. And there is a second group. They think about we in the sense their family, maybe their cousins, their close friends, their co-workers. That's the second group. And the final group, they think about the superpower. I really wanted to be useful for this world. So if you are operating from the me space, your growth capacity is very limited because that is how the universe works. You get only like a limited. You could become a CEO of a company, but again, like your growth inside is like very limited. You feel empty inside. When you're operating from the V state, your growth is little better than me, but still like limited. Whereas when the place that you are operating from, work that you are putting into this one, you are getting direct superpower from whoever that you believe, like a God, a Jesus or Rama or Krishna, directly from them. And you can definitely change the world. So always like ask yourself every time when you are, this is for all of your listeners, am I operating from the me space? Is this like I'm really focusing on my family, my work, my things, or am I doing something for the world? If you're doing something for the world, your growth potential is like really limitless.
We talk about people that have gone and no longer here. We don't talk about the money that they've got because that's gone and that's done. But we talk about what did they do for other people, and that's the legacy we leave. And I think there's no greater gift that we can give than to touch people's lives and help them along their journey, because that's what they'll remember most. So yeah, really nice way of putting it. So Vamsi, you must have coached lots of people, and I'd love to hear a few stories about, some of those successes that you've had with people and how you've managed to help them excel in their lives through the great work that you've been doing.
Absolutely. A couple of examples. One of the client, he never ran more than 5 kilometers in his life. And
sounds a bit like me, actually, Vamsi, that one. So yeah, I'm really going to listen to this one with laser focus.
So when I challenged him, let's go for a 5-mile race, he said like 5 miles. No, 5 miles. No, I can run like maybe 3 miles. That is like a 5 kilometers. And the challenge, like he took it really seriously. And a couple of months later, he started running longer distances. And when we met last year around the same time, I have in-person masterminds. I run every other quarter in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, like area. And there he came up with an idea. Vamsi, I wanted to run a marathon, not just in one continent, every continent this year. So he went there and completed those. He got an award of Impossible Achievement Award. So it's all about here. So that is like one success story. It's not about like, I don't teach anything related to running. I don't teach anything related to the exercises. I teach like a mental fitness. So with that mental fitness, he started seeing the entire world differently. He ran a marathon in New Zealand. He ran a marathon in Europe, Africa. He ran in Asia. So pretty much like all areas, like he completed. He still has to run one in South Pole. He's planning on to go sometime. That's his last one. But yeah, that's one example. And the second example, somebody who's like not sure what to do with his career. But during like my conversation, he expressed interest on machine learning. And I spoke to him for like a couple of sessions, and I realized he got a lot of potential. He's not playing full out. Help him to create a path. And he wrote a book on machine learning, and he became a published author. He created his audible version of that book, and he's now changing the world with his message. He's no longer thinking anything in his career. He's just like, his goal is shifting from being an IT leader into the visionary that he's sharing his knowledge, his thought leadership to the world. And he's getting invites from many parts of the world. Those are like a very few examples. I also coach a lot of coaches. They wanted to be profitable, help them to take out like 80% of what they're doing and focus on the 20% and 10x the bottom line. If they're making $100,000 a year, how about you get $2 million by doing less? So again, am I giving like the strategies that they don't know? No, I'm giving them the greatness inside of them. So that way they execute the strategies that they know. I still teach a couple of strategies, but that's not what the results are coming from. It's coming from who they are becoming in this process. So variety of stories, and I'm super, super grateful. And Brendan and I run a program called Communication Accelerator. And we teach on communication, how to communicate effectively with some people. It could be in a boardroom. It could be on any public speaking engagement. That is one program that we have been doing it for the past 3+ years. We coach like thousands of people in that space. And also we are starting something called Personal Leadership Academy. This is for especially tech people who are living outside of India. And this Personal Leadership Academy is all about showing them the true leadership. So they can become the true leader. They can become that person. They then show the world who they are and what they're capable of through that program. It's a very low entry fees program. They're doing it for like 100 plus every year. And yeah. So those are the things that I do part of this journey.
Oh, fantastic. You mentioned there about helping people have that mental kind of workout. Could you tell me more about that? How do we have a mental workout?
So everything what is happening in our world is basically the stories that we are keep telling it to ourselves. Whatever that you have right now is the story that's playing in your mind. If you change that story, anything is possible. One example, getting up early in the morning, 5 o'clock. And if 5 o'clock is not maybe too early for you, set a time, 6 o'clock, and start committing to that. Most of the times, Paddy, people, they get into procrastination. The reason because they can't feel inside like, I can't do this work. It's tough for me. I don't know exactly what to do this. So create that accountability within yourself. Set a time and maybe use a simple post-it note and write down every single day what time you got up and see, are you consistent with what you are committing to? That way you build that consistency muscle inside of your mind. And that consistency muscle will shows up in multiple ways, in multiple areas of your life. When you go to work, you already creating that aura around you, and people can feel that Paddy is very consistent. Paddy is like very genuine. He keeps his promises. So by keeping the promise, you are doing good to you, and also you're creating that emotion around you, and people can feel that.
That brings me on to another question I've been dying to ask you, because when we talk about aura and almost this kind of positive energy coming from people, is there any, I guess, science or any kind of research that you've seen or come across around this phenomena? Because it's really difficult to tangibly say that we have people that are like this or not like this. We generally go by our gut feel. When we meet someone, we either connect with them or we don't. We can sometimes sense a certain energy coming from them. But like, how do you actually spot that in someone? But then secondly, is it a way of you, if you are feeling like you're a negative person, to become more positive?
Sure. First, to answer the first question, is there a scientific way? There are like hundreds of scientific things that we can talk about. One simple thing, there was an experiment conducted by one of the great university on this topic. And what they did was they took 2 glasses of water and put 1 glass in one room, where in that room, everybody talked something about positive things that are happening in their life. And they took the second glass and put in another room, and they talked about all the negative things that are happening, like all the victim mentality, the things, what is happening with the politics, with the war, with all the crazy things. And they took both the glasses and put into the freezer. The next day, when they see the formation of ice inside of that, they did like a really microscopic level test. And the people who talked positivity, the glass was looking like really crystal, like a shape. And the other one, it was looking like really bad. So this is the energy that the glasses, that the water absorb when we are doing. Just imagine you putting your family in that space, you putting your kids in that space, You are talking all the negative things in front of them. You are letting them watch all the negative things that are going in the world. So if water is showing that, what is that going to be for your kids? What is that going to be for you being in that environment? Really, I think everybody should focus on what your environment is looking like. If your environment is not supporting you towards like where you want it to go, the best and easy way to do this, clean your environment, clean your bookshelves, clean your closets, clean your like maybe your bedroom. So that way you're creating that positive environment. And next, get into your circle. Who are you spending time with? What kind of emotions that they're throwing at you, and how you're processing those emotions. The best thing to do is like let go of the things that are no longer serving you. And so that way you can focus on, you can create space for the things that you really wanted to be doing. So a lot of scientific evidences, and I stopped watching news almost like 7-8 years ago. Even I don't even watch the weather because nothing that I can control. If something I'm supposed to know, I'll get to know after getting into the car, the temperature. I was not too worried about that small things.
Vamsi, you made a comment there, and I just want to pull you back on that. You've stopped
Sure.
watching the news.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
so
all news or just on TV?
No news at all. I don't even know what's going on in the world because that's not like a matter to me. And the moment you give yourself, like your brain can only process certain things. If you give all your brain's energy towards what matters to you, you are becoming that superhuman. You have that superpower. What typically like we're allocating that brain to million different tasks, and brain unconsciously processing that what is happening in there, what is happening in here, what is this guy's agenda, all these things. We don't need any of those things. And some people, they know more about politicians, about some politics. So why are you worried about? Are you going to go and change that? No. So why you're wasting your superpower?
I'm going to relate to that in a way as well. Actually, that's a really good point, because I often talk about innovation and creativity, and we at work are often expected to be creative all of a sudden and be innovative at a flick of a switch, when actually the real creativity happens when we're sleeping subconsciously, because as you mentioned, everything that we've been exposed to throughout the day, the brain is now building all these connections and the neural pathways and all of this good stuff. And now we're bringing lots of different ideas together and connecting things. So as you mentioned, if you've seen a lot of negative news, a lot of negativity, your brain's going to be processing that, right? And so some people go, well, I really struggle to be creative. Well, it's probably because of what you've been taking into that mind of yours. And if I'm surrounded by happiness and some uplifting ideas, then hopefully I'll bring those together in some way subconsciously. So again, I can relate to what you're saying there in terms of the news. But does that not cause other problems? Like, I'm just thinking about conversation. Like a lot of people will go, hey, did you see what happened in country on the news? Like, how do you deal with that then? Or do you just talk about completely different stuff?
It all depends on your priorities. For me, I don't even encourage those people into my life. So I not only cleared the news, I cleared so many of the people. They are not going to be serving my vision. It's not like they're not bad people. That's not the time that I wanted to spend on. Sometimes we all have to spend time with people that may be not aligned with us, but I'll restrict myself to spend little time. And I'll try to just like maybe be me on that versus like whatever that they're thinking about. So I can put filters on my mind and protect my focus.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's amazing. And I guess that's a very disciplined approach. So respect to you for that. And does spirituality play an important role in your life? Because I'm looking at your background there and I see a few icons from different faiths. So it'd be really good to get an insight from you on that.
Absolutely. It's all about, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. There's a difference between religion and spirituality. Spirituality is all about understanding who you are, understanding like why you are here. The moment you understand your purpose, and everything changes. I pray every God. I go to like all the temples. I go all the centers, but I see only one superpower every time that superpower is inside of us. The moment we let that superpower do the work, we all can create magic. We or create miracles in our life. A lot of people, they think about ChatGPT and all the technology things that are coming into this world. But who is doing all that? Somebody with that superpower, right? And you have exactly the same superpower. So either you can become a consumer of those things and get entertained, or become the creator by using your superpower that is sitting inside of you.
Lovely message there to wrap up, I think, this episode. But Vamsi, before we go, are there any particular resources that you would recommend for someone who is looking to discover this greatness within them, as well as your resources as well? Because I know you've got tons of great things that you're doing.
Absolutely. So again, I'm not too far from where most of your listeners are. I was there in their shoes a few years ago. So very first book I recommend, Who is Busy Being Busy. You're the director, you're maybe manager, you're marketing head, or maybe technology director. Instead of busy being busy, there is a book by Robin Sharma, and the book title is Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Just get that copy. It's maybe $10, maybe 10 euros. I don't know how much it is, but give yourself a permission to just read that book with open mind. That book, I think, is going to be a good start. Maybe you can put that link in the chat as well, Paddy. So that's a good start. And in terms of my resources, I'm available on LinkedIn, Vamsi. You can find me there. I put a lot of content there. And you can also find me on my website, www.vamsi.coach, VAMSI.coach. So that's my website. And yeah, a lot of information is available on LinkedIn.
Oh, I love that URL. It's so clean and simple, so no one can forget that. So, hey, you got no excuses for not getting in touch with Vamsi. His URL there is made for anyone like me who doesn't remember things very well. So, Vamsi, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your insights. I feel a lot wiser than I was at the start of this conversation. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thanks for the chat, Paddy. This is really good. One final message for all the audience. Everyone, start before you are ready. I'll repeat that again. Start before you are ready. Everything is outside of your comfort zone. Take that first step now. And the moment you step out from that zone, you're going to experience magic in your life. Comfort zone is a drug. 99% of the world got addicted to that drug. Don't be the one. Just step out and show your family what is possible. You stepping out from that zone, and they will follow you.
There you have it, folks. It's the end of another insightful episode. And as always, thank you so much for sticking around to listen to this episode and for helping support me and encouraging me to create more content for you guys. If you'd like to get in touch with me directly, you'll find my email address in the show notes, or equally head over to the website and click on the contact link. And I promise I will respond to every single message I receive. I'm always looking for your feedback, so if you'd like me to change things up or improve things, I would love your opinions. If there are topics that you would like us to do future episodes on, or there are other great speakers that you are aware of, then please do mention them, and we'll see if we can make it happen. Thank you once again.